So, with today being President's Day, which is a very sacred day to me, because as you know, I'm still president, and a lot of people say the greatest president we've ever had. How about that? Of all of them, I thought I would roast people on the internet. They like sir, you must roast. You got to roast them. So, we're going to roast all the presidents from second best to the absolute worst. And let's see. He had horrible teeth, and he gave up the presidency like in the most weak. He wouldn't fight. He wouldn't fight for the president. He was probably one of the weakest people we've ever had. He was short, fat, the first one-term president we ever had, and also his HBO miniseries was very boring. He made a big mistake because though I respect sleeping with the people who work for you, he never got them to sign NDAs, and I thought he was like a lawyer. He was very stupid on that. He should have gotten a lot of NDAs signed. James Madison was so short, I probably would have stepped on him and said, "What's that?" And they would have said, "It's a founding father, sir." And I said, "Well, he was too tiny." James Monroe, what the hell did you even do? Who the hell cares? John Quincy Adams, what a Nepo baby. So sad. The first Nepo baby president. Pathetic. Didn't make anything on his own. Andrew Jackson, I have a lot of respect for Andrew Jackson, but the fact is he almost lost the $20 bill to a black. Sad. Martin Van Buren, you made Kickboxer and that was good, and Bloodsport was solid, but then never really made a good movie after that. Very sad. Time Cop sucked. William Henry Harrison, you were in office for like 30 days and then you died like a dog. John Tyler, I think he had some sort of stupid phrase, tip a canoe and Tyler too. Well, no, we don't like canoes, and we don't like you, too. Bono. James Polk, nobody remembers your presidency, and you left us with some of the worst music in the history of music. Zachary Taylor, you sound like some sort of cool, surfer kid from a Disney show, but you're actually quite ugly. Millard Fillmore, probably the worst named president we ever had. You sound like I don't even know what the hell a Millard Fillmore is, but it's very nasty and very pathetic. Franklin Pierce. Nobody knows what you did, and we don't like it. James Buchanan, a lot of people say that you might have been the first gay president. You were never married, so obviously you were sort of like the Mike Pence, but without a mother. Abraham Lincoln, a lot of people say you're the greatest Republican president, and obviously that's false because that's me. But you went to the theater, probably to please the radical left woke theater people, and look what happened to you. So go woke, go dead. Andrew Johnson, oh, he thought he was Trump before Trump. He got in office, he got impeached only once. One impeachment, it's like you're not even trying. Ulysses S. Grant, first of all, you were so nasty to the South when all they wanted was states' rights. You were very nasty, but you're also a big drunk, so nobody likes you. Rutherford B. Hayes, the B stands for bullshit. James Garfield, not only were you not a good president, but you also never got lasagna, you fat cat. Chester Arthur. Chester, whoever heard of such a stupid name? That's why we call you Chester the Molester President. Grover Cleveland, this guy. Have you ever heard of such a stupid name? Grover, you were named after one of the worst Muppets. And Cleveland, a radical left city full of blacks. So you put those together, you get a horrible Muppet full of radical left blacks. Terrible president. Benjamin Harrison. Nobody knows what you did, who you were, or why you're even here. Bye-bye. How pathetic is it that Grover Cleveland shows up again on the list? It's like you lost the White House, nobody wanted you there, and then you had the nerve to run again. How stupid do you have to be to run again for the presidency, and the American people to be stupid enough to re-elect you? Very sad. William McKinley, shot like a dog. Sad. Teddy Roosevelt. Oh, very, very strong Republican president, too woke, very pro-environment, against all of our great industries. And he was part of the Rough Riders. And I you know what I found funny? DMX, one of our great rappers, I would have signed him to my label, Jim Crow Records. But he had the Rough Riders. And Teddy Roosevelt never sued. I would have sued the crap out of DMX. I would have sued him so bad. For stealing the Rough Riders. But Theodore Roosevelt, no, he didn't do that because he was weak. He wanted Alvin or Simon to do it. So very pathetic. William Taft, the fattest president ever. I bet William Taft was looking up from hell, hoping that, oh, please, let Chris Christie become president so I'm only the second fattest. Nope, too bad. Still fat. Woodrow Wilson seemed like a strong guy. I played Birth of a Nation, great film, at the White House, so we respect that. But then Princeton recently kicked his name off of a building or a center. They went woke, and he didn't do anything about it. Well, Woodrow Wilson, he just sat there and allowed it to happen. So very weak, very weak. We call him Weak Woodrow. Weak. Warren G. Harding. Okay, Warren G. actually failed to regulate. He always talked about he was going to regulate. Never did any regulation, was actually very weak on that. And he didn't help Nate Dogg, who passed away sadly at a very young age. Calvin Coolidge was actually not cool. When you talk to his friends, they said, no, he was quite the loser. So, he gave himself a name. Remember when I discovered that Greenland was actually the country full of ice? Not a lot of people knew that before me. Well, Calvin Coolidge, his real name was Calvin Loseridge. He said, well, what if I name myself Coolidge? So we're not fooled. We're not fooled. Herbert Hoover did nice things with a vacuum cleaner, and then he used the vacuum cleaner to suck up all our wealth and lead us into the Great Depression. Absolutely pathetic. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the D stand for disabled, because he couldn't even walk. He sat around in a chair. And until Sleepy Joe showed up, he was probably our weakest president in terms of strong walking. So the New Deal, he should have gotten himself a new pair of legs, because the New Deal was a total failure. Harry Truman was out of his depths, didn't know what the hell he was doing, and he dropped a bomb on Japan, which some people thought was good, but it gave us Godzilla. How about that? How about that? Harry Truman gave us Godzilla. Dwight Eisenhower, who we respected what he did in World War II, but then he got into the presidency and became an even woker general than Millie. Millie Cyrus is probably the wokest general we've ever had. But Eisenhower, he was desegregating, and he was talking about, we have to be careful of the military, industrial, whatever the hell that was. A lot of big words for a woke general, but he was a horrible president. JFK, who had many extramarital affairs, so we can respect that greatly. He didn't even serve out one full term. How weak is that? He didn't even get to one full term. Lyndon Johnson. Now, this is a guy who said the N-word a lot, so I thought, okay, how do I roast him? But then he put together, maybe he was trying to prove, even though I say the N-word, I'm woke. He put together some of the most woke, nasty, disgraceful laws in our country's history. Medicare, Voting Rights Act, civil rights. So I think he thought, if I pass all this, they'll let me say the N-word. Well, guess what? A strong president says the N-word without having to do wokeness in sort of an exchange. Richard Nixon resigned like a dog, so weak. Gerald Ford, he kept slipping on Saturday Night Live, total embarrassment. Jimmy Carter, probably the worst president until Sleepy Joe, and was faithful to his wife for over 70 years. Disgusting. Now, Ronald Reagan, I have great respect for somebody who was like a weaker version of me, but unlike me, married to a beautiful, very highly moral prostitute from Europe. I hear that Ronald Reagan's wife was very loose, unlike Melatonin, where you can find her nudes on the internet. George H.W. Bush, I think he needed all the initials because he was embarrassed about how horrible a president he was. So he was like, if I add an H and a W, maybe people think I'm important, sir. Well, one term, bye-bye. Bill Clinton, I like some things about him, not his wife. But he should have gotten Monica Lewinsky to sign an NDA. That's what I do with all my interns. I say, just sign this and we'll be good. And he's supposed to be like a lawyer, so how stupid are you not to get your sex interns to sign NDAs? George W. Bush, who has fewer letters than his dad because he's even worse than his dad. He's also a Nepo baby. And he led us into Iraq, and he could barely speak. And now he gets candies from Michelle Obama like a dog receiving a treat. Pathetic. No, I won't say Barack Hussein Obama because he's not a real president. He wasn't born here. He was born in Kenya, okay, which is not in the United States, as I learned a couple of years ago. Donald J. Trump, simply put, is the greatest president and human being America has ever produced and will ever produce. Plain and simple. Now we get to the current fake president, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden. I have such strong cognitive compared to Hunter Biden. And that's why I'm going to defeat him in 2049 with a very strong campaign, because we defeated Obama once and we're going to defeat Clinton again. And Hunter Biden stands no chance against me. And his son, Jill, is also a horrible person. And we're going to defeat the whole Biden crime family with strong cognitive and strong talent in 1995. And we're going to have the greatest presidency of all time, Y2K.